Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. You're listening to a video for Teamfight Tactics. Well, it is the start of a new set, or at least a new set that's gone on the public beta environment, or PBE. This is set 13, officially known as Into the Arcane, but everybody's probably just going to call it the Arcane set. This set is very heavily tied into the Netflix TV show. The second season of the show is debuting pretty much the same time as this set is coming out, and the designers have leaned hard, and I mean leaned hard, into doing everything with Arcane theming. As you can see, there's a number of changes in this set. First one is we start out with an encounter instead of a portal. It's essentially the same thing, except that you don't get a choice. No longer are people voting on what portal they want to have. It's just going to be chosen for you at the start of the game. I don't know that I love that decision, but it does speed things up, which I think isn't the worst thing necessarily. For this particular game, we have a Jinx portal, and that essentially means that we have Scuttle Crabs. So if you like Scuttle Crabs before, well, we've basically got them here again. This was one of the most popular portals, so it's not surprising that the developers opted to keep this one. This is officially a PBE double-up game. This is from the second day of the public beta environment. The first day double up was not enabled, and then they put out a patch on the second day that did enable double up. And so JDP El Grillo and I are playing a game. We want to be clear, we don't know what we're doing. This is, again, the second day of PBE. This is like the third game I think I had done. I think it was Grillo's like fifth game that he had played. So it's very early on. We don't have a great sense. No one really has a good sense for what's strong or weak because it's PBE. And those numbers are going to change like crazy. The main thing is just trying to learn what all the units are, what the traits are, what the synergies do. That's really the only point of playing on PBE. So we're going to walk through at least the game that I played here on this particular day, talk about some of the traits, talk about some of the changes, and just get a little bit of a sense of what is here in this new set before it goes up onto the live client. By the way, look at all this loot. PBE is so disgusting, or Scuttle Crab is so disgusting in terms of all the stuff that it gives you. And I'm going to sell to get to 10 gold at the last second. Now, I had that, by the way, there's all new augments. There's a handful that are still around, but most of them are completely new augments. I'm looking around at these different ones, and I just saw that one of them played into a trait, Domination. Dominators gain 20% attack speed while shielded. When a Dominator gets a kill, all Dominators gain 150 shield for 4 seconds. Gain a Cassiopeia. So I was like, I don't have any particular direction. This is going to allow me to play through a trait. Why don't I just go ahead and play through this Dominator's trait? And I'll look to play through that trait. Well, as it would turn out, what I did not know at the time was that Dominators is a late game trait. It's almost all expensive units. It is one of the vertical traits. It's not like just a splashable trait, although I guess you can splash the trait if you want. But it is a trait that leans pretty heavily into late game units. It has 1/2 costs, 2/3 costs, 2/4 costs, and a 5 cost. So the trait structure is 2/3/3 4/4/5 for Dominators, which means that you are not going to have a lot of luck finding these units at the beginning of the game. And as it would turn out, my board was not especially strong all throughout the early portions of this game because I took an augment that plays through Dominators, and where are all the Dominators? It gave me one Cassiopeia, who's one of the 3 costs. I did not have Ziggs. You probably shouldn't take this augment unless you have at least 1 Ziggs, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to play through this augment. Anyway, so other stuff that's new here in the set. One of the other things that pops up immediately is the way that the items have been reworked. Before in the game, your items would pop on like this little ledge, the little circular ledge on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. All your items would pop up there. And this was a bit problematic because there just wasn't that much space there. There really was only space to hold about 10 items or item components. And as TFT's gameplay went on, the developers kept shoving more and more stuff into the game. Like once they started adding things like item removers and reforgers and radiant items, and all. And here in double up mode, we have the send, the little helmet, which is how you can send a unit over to somebody else. Like, that bench just got filled up insanely fast. So they have finally, and I mean finally, reworked what the item interface looks like. And they basically have swapped the main client over to what the mobile game uses, which is that items pop up in a little vertical line there, and it is much easier to see them. So this is definitely a big improvement. It is a lot easier, and I mean a lot easier, to see those items over there. So this is a big plus. It definitely takes some time getting used to. I've only done a handful of the games here on this set, and it does feel weird that, like, when you run over an item orb, instead of the item kind of like popping up into the air and going over to your bench, it like immediately flies to the left side of the screen. So that's definitely different than how this stuff worked in the past. But overall, in terms of like ease of use and clarity, this is a pretty big improvement. So I'm definitely glad that this is something that they've gone ahead and done. It long overdue. Would have been nice to have had this done earlier, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. At least we finally got this eventually. So yeah, so far I don't really have much of anything. I'm just kind of hanging out here with my board. I have managed to put in this Black Rose trait, which I'll say more about in a minute because we're about to go to a minion round here. But yeah, am I actually going to win this round? This one's super close. And, well, Cassiopeia killed the one unit. Now, can she kill the powder? Okay. Got reinforced on with one powder coming over. But mostly, I've just been playing in econ mode thus far. One of the problems at the start of a set like this is you really don't know who the champions are. And this set's particularly confusing because there's a bunch of champions that aren't even in League of Legends. So, like, there's somebody running around with, like, a big gun. That's Remy. And there was also, I think there was also a Lorcus that was on this carousel. So, like, there's a whole bunch of Arcane characters that they have added to this game. I mean, they did this with Silco back in set, what was it, 6.5, I think they put him in. But they took it a lot further in this set. There's like 6 or 7 characters that are exclusive to the TV show, maybe even more than that. So, yeah, it can be confusing. And, there was a Ziggs in my shop. Wow, did I miss this Ziggs? I was looking for Ziggs. I think I totally missed that I had a Ziggs in my shop here. I can't believe I missed that. I'm looking back here. I have not watched the replay since I did this earlier. But yeah, apparently I missed this Ziggs. And then I would go like for round and round and round and round without finding Ziggs. That's disappointing. Anyway, let me talk a little bit about the traits that I have found then. So I was planning on playing through Dominator, and I am going to get in that direction eventually. But other stuff that I'm playing through, I've kind of randomly hit a Black Rose, which is kind of the primary trait I'm playing through on this board right now. And that trait is basically set 13's version of the summon an additional unit by playing more units in this trait. It puts Scion on the board. Let me see if I can read the official description. Where is Black Rose? I'm looking at the cheat sheet right now. All right, here we go. Black Rose. Each Black Rose champion's star level increases Scion's power. So at Black Rose 3, summon a chained Scion. He is freed after 5 casts from Black Rose units or when he drops below 65% health. And then the deeper you play into the trait and the higher the star level of the Black Rose units, the stronger that Scion gets. This is a very straightforward trait. It has a 1 cost, 2 cost, 3 cost, 4 cost, and 5 cost. And then you can see Black Rose 7 is Scion becomes like impossibly strong, but that requires 2 emblems, not 1, 2 emblems. So that's going to be a tricky one in order to play. I also am finally going to get Blitzcrank. I think that came over on a send from JDPL Grillo, if I remember correctly. I was looking at the cheat sheet, so I didn't actually see the gameplay a second ago. But yeah, now that I have Blitzcrank on the board, Blitz is one of the main tanks that you would play. He is just a straightforward tank. He is Dominator, and what's his other trait? Automata is his other trait. I'll talk about that if I can get that trait in. But yeah, he's basically a frontline tank, as Blitzcrank normally is. He does not have the hook that he had in some of the early sets. He just pretty much stands up there and tanks damage. So I'm going to use him as my primary tank. And then I also have Sorcerer trait in, which is a trait that gives ability power to the whole team, and then Sorcerer units get more. It's a pretty straightforward trait. The more Sorcs you played, the more ability power you get. So this board feels pretty underpowered at the moment, definitely not that strong. I would like to get more Dominators on the board. Let me read what the Dominator trait does, because we've got a minion round here. All right, Dominator, this is an unusual trait, Not quite sure how I feel about this. It's like partially a tank trait, but it's also partially a spellcasting trait. Combat starts, Dominator gain a shield for 15 seconds. So there's the tanky part. When combat starts, Dominators get a shield, and then that'll last for 15 seconds. As you play deeper into the trait, you get a bigger shield. Here's the creative part. When Dominators cast, they gain stacking ability power based on the mana spent. So every time they cast their ability, they gain ability power. And the higher the mana cost of the ability, the more AP they get. So this is actually the way that Archangel Staff used to function, like way back in the day. Some people might remember to the earlier sets of TFT that Archangel Staff actually functioned in this way. When the unit would cast, they would gain ability power, and the higher their max mana, the more ability power they would gain. So they've kind of brought that back here. And right now, the only unit that this really functions on is the Cassiopeia, which is the... never mind. So apparently I didn't get the first Blitz from Grillo because he sent me one here. But he's been looking for Dominator units for me. He also has a... I believe he also ended up with a pair of... what's the name? A pair of Ziggs. But I think we decided to send the Blitz because we were hoping that maybe he hit one more Ziggs and he could send the 2-star. Of course, I went by a 6 earlier, but whatever. So anyway, you get the idea. Dominator gain a shield, and then as units cast, they gain stacking ability power. With the higher their max AP, the more ability power they gain per cast. So definitely opens up some interesting possibilities. Right now, Cassiopeia is the only one who's really getting the stacking ability power aspect. She is a backline spellcaster. I really do need to get her other trait in, if at all possible, which is Visionary, which is a mana generating trait. I do not have that on the board right now. So my board is not especially strong. I'm even on a little bit of a loss streak here. So I'm looking to see if there's anything that's going to synergize with my board, and I don't really see that much. I didn't want to do Slamming because I didn't like these items that much. I didn't want to slam them. I didn't want Forbidden Magic. That would be if I wanted to go vertical Black Rose, but I already have an augment that wants me to go vertical Dominator, so I'm just going to take this one. When units die, they gain, what was it, a stacking, they give attack speed to nearby units when they die. I think that one went by a little bit faster. Didn't get to read the whole thing. So that's just like a generic augment. Nothing too specialized right there. Grillo, for his part, is going to be playing into a Sentinel Frontline, which is another one of the tank traits in this set. And then he's going to be playing Artillerist units behind that, which is another one of the ranged AD traits. So again, I'm just trying to kind of power level here, not lose too much health, and try to get up to level 8, where I'm hoping I can find some more Dominators. Again, as I said before, the cost structure for this trait is 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and 5. So if I want to play 6 Dominators, I'm definitely going to have to get to at least level 8 to try to find like the 4 costs and maybe the 5 cost. Odds to hit these units before then are almost non-existent. So I'm kind of leaning on Grillo's board to help me out here, and hopefully we can manage to preserve enough health to get there. One of the things I saw in the data is that even on PBE, by the way, even on PBE, we do have data about what's strong and what's weak. If you can play 6 Dominator, it's actually quite strong. But that's not surprising because it requires you to hit 2 4 costs and a 5 cost. This is also disappointing. I kept seeing all these Twitches in my shop. Twitch is another one of the ranged ADs. Has sniper trait, but I just can't really play him on this board. I do actually have AD items, but if you're playing a Dominator board, you really are going into spellcasting. That's why I didn't want the double bows. You could make the argument, why didn't you just slam double bows for red buff? But I really was trying to get a Gnasher's Tooth here. I thought I could maybe get a Gnasher's Tooth and make that, because Gnasher's Tooth is a very good item as far as I can tell on both Cassiopeia and also on Silco, who's the other made spellcaster in this board. So I kind of wanted to make double Gnasher's Tooth, but maybe that was me being just too greedy and not just slamming a red buff, which would have given me like a heal cut on these enemy boards. I don't know. Maybe that would have been a better choice, because I'm definitely not very strong right now. I won that last round, but that was only because Grillo came over and reinforced my board. I definitely am not that strong at the moment. At least I was able to get Visionary trait in. As I said, this is a mana generating trait. It's pretty straightforward. Units that have Visionary trait gain additional mana. Whenever they gain mana, they gain more. I think at Visionary 2, it's 25% additional mana. I do actually get the first choice here as far as picking off the carousel, so I'm going to take the Blitzcrank, which is going to give me Blitz 2-star. I thought that was better than anything else I could get here. I would have taken a Silco if it had been there, but there was no Silco on here. Also could have maybe taken Dr. Mundo, who's another Dominator unit, but Mundo wasn't on there either, so I was like, okay, that's Blitz 2-star. I'm reasonably pleased with that. at least get my front line a little bit stronger, although I think my damage output's also kind of crummy right now. I have this 1-star Cassiopeia who doesn't really have the traits that you would want on her in. Cassiopeia has low mana cost, so she kind of wants a blue buff, is my understanding. Where is her specific ability? Again, it's early in the set, so I have to look this up. Yeah, her mana cost is 40, so she definitely can make good use of a blue buff. Here's her official description. Thorn Miasma. Blast target for magic damage. Every third cast splash miasma to 2 enemies within 3 hexes, dealing magic damage to each. So that's basically identical to Hui's ability from the last set. So there's a good case to be made that if you really want to carry through her, you can do Shojin and blue buff because she gets the big benefit on the third cast. Mana cost is 40, so blue buff takes that to 30, and then a Shojin means you cast every 2 attacks. So she could actually really use both of them, and then she's just getting a lot of additional casts off to get that third cast ability. Anyway, though, so I do think that getting the 2-star Blitz definitely makes my front line stronger. Blitz being a 3 cost means he will get outscaled in the late game, but he'll be strong here in the mid game, at least for a while. And the Ionic Spark on him is definitely helping a lot because otherwise I don't have any MR Shred. And as I said, I am all magic damage. I don't think I would have beaten that board regardless, but I do feel like I'm starting to get a little bit closer here. Again, the fact that I don't have Ziggs, or really the unit I should be playing through right now is the Ziggs with this board, but I missed the only Ziggs that popped up. And then since then, Ziggs has been MIA, totally missing in action. So again, just trying to level here, trying to preserve health. We haven't done a great job of that so far, but just trying to do our best to hang in there. This was the gift round for Double Up. I have picked up a Thief's Glove, so now I need to put this on somebody. And I was like, let's see, Thief's Glove, who do I put this on? I was like, probably want to put this on somebody I'm going to sell later. I think it might be good on like Mundo later on, perhaps. But for now, I stuck it on Zyra, which is probably the wrong unit, in all honesty. Probably should have put that on Vlad. But I thought that Vlad might stay on this board. It turns out Vlad will not stay on this board long term. Vlad's an interesting unit because he has 3 traits in this set. It's Black Rose, Sorks, and what's his other trait? Hold on, where's Vlad on here? Black Rose, Sorcerer is his other trait. Black Rose, Sorcerer, and Watcher. I'm not playing into Watcher trait in this game. Watcher's another tank trait, but I'm not playing into it in this game. It gives durability, which is damage reduction. Now, this round, I think I actually might have been able to win, but then I'm going to get reinforced on, and yeah. Part of the problem is I'm getting reinforced on almost every round, and I think that one of these other boards is quite weak, so they keep losing the rounds, and then we get reinforced on. Still, it hasn't exactly been a great stage 2 or 3. It's actually been pretty bad. It's actually been pretty bad thus far. The good news is I did manage to get a 2-star Trist, so I can send that over to Grillo, who's going to try to play a 3-star Tristana. She has a really interesting mechanic in that she permanently gains AD when she kills enemy units with her ability. So if you can hit her early and 3-star her, you can get her stacking up. You have to decide, like, is it worthwhile to reroll her or play deeper into Artillerist trait? And I think Grillo is going to end up trying to 3-star her. It's, of course, always easier to do that in double up mode because your partner can do stuff like this. I was able to just send 3 copies of Trist over there. And God, look at all this loot. Again, the Scuttle Crab mode is pretty ridiculous. But anyway, finally a Ziggs pops up. So I was like, okay, cool. That's good. Now I definitely want to try to distribute some of these items. So I'm going to go ahead and do that blue buff plus Shojin on Cassiopeia. And then I'm looking at other options here. I was like, all right, I can go ahead and do Steadfast Heart. And again, I'm going to try to get to level 8 soon here and roll down because, again, my board is not very strong. But I was able to get a Silco, and that's a big pickup right there because that was something that Grillo was able to find for me. So he's going to grab that, and then that's going to allow me to play 4 Dominators here. I'll put the Shojin on him. I'll put the blue buff on Cassiopeia. Now I have a leftover Thief's Glove, which I stuff on Elise for the time being. I also realized I had a leftover Rod here, so I could look to do another Jeweled Gauntlet, which I don't think would be bad, just because I've got this. And then I have the items for a Gargoyle Stone Plate, so I can look to do that as well. Then I still got these bows that I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with. But I believe I ended up making a Gargoyle Stone Plate for the Blitzcrank as well. Now that I have Silco on the board, it's definitely going to help. He is the other main carry in the Dominator board. And I'll talk more about what he does in a minute. But we're actually going to get another augment here. And this is going to turn out to be a new augment. It's Prismatic. So I could go for the max cap, but that doesn't seem good here. Visionary Crown, no. Look at this Wand Overflow. Gain 5 needlessly large rods. Your needlessly large rods gain 2.5% attack speed. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to death cap both of these And I have just got an absurd amount of rods in this game. We'll go ahead and do the Gargoyle Stoneplate. Look how many rods I've gotten in this game. So we'll level to Ziggs, put him on the board. I also had Jinx here, but I don't think either of us end up playing Jinx in this game. And then I hit the 5-cost Dominator at 3% odds. I was like, oh my god, let's go. I hit the Mordekaiser, so now let's start moving out of the Black Rose, which I definitely don't need, and we can start going into more Dominator. Now I just need a Mordekaiser to play the 6 Dominator, which is going to be a really big spike for my board. So like that's what I'm looking for here. I'm trying to roll it down and seeing if I can find one Mundo, which would make my board so much stronger. Still, this was a very interesting prismatic. I would imagine that this prismatic probably is not going to be super strong in the data because it's pretty situational as far as where you would want 5 needlessly large rods. But I do think that it was a really good fit here because it allowed me to do double death cap. And I already had a bunch of other rods too, right? I had an Ionic Spark on my front line. I already had 2 Jeweled Gauntlets, so all of those units are gaining additional attack speed off of all those rods too, and it just really spiked my damage on this board because I am playing a heavy spellcasting board. Like I said, I think it just was a very good fit here. I could also try to go for Cassiopeia 3-star, but it seems a little late for that. And then I get another 5-cost. I have this Malzahar here, so I was like, oh wow, well I've got to play this. This has to be better than something, right? And then I was like, it's the Morgana. The Morgana I don't need anymore because Malz is going to give Visionary trait, and then now I have a place to put these extra rods as well because I've got all these extra rods. It's like, okay, well let's stuff another rod on Malzahar, and now I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with these bows. Again, I probably should have just made a red buff because I still don't have a heal cut on my board, but no, instead I opt to make the Giant Slayer, which I think in retrospect is probably a mistake. Not that Giant Slayer is bad or anything, but I do think red buff is better because again, I don't have a heal cut on my board right now, and that would definitely be good to have. So with me hitting a bunch of these 5-costs, my board is getting way stronger. Now I just need the Mundo for the 6 Dominator. That's the only thing I really need to get my board to spike. By the way, look at this Vander. Vander is a 2-cost unit, but this person has the Vander carry augment, and oof. All right, well, that Vander did 17,000 damage. That seems a little overtuned, but okay. And hopefully I've managed to stabilize here. I'm also going to get second pick. Is there a Mundo on the carousel? No, there is not a Mundo on the carousel, so we don't want that. There is some interesting stuff on here, though. Like there's a Jace, there's a Malzahar. Jace is another 5-cost here. I end up taking the Renata because I realized at this point, I was like, oh, you know, if I didn't make red buff, I really do need a heal cut. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this belt to make a Morelos, which will finally give my team a heal cut. And Malzahar is going to be pretty good at applying the Malzahar is going to be pretty good at applying that because his Malefic Visions or whatever it's called hits a pretty good portion of the enemy board. All right, so again, it's worthwhile to continue rolling here because one more Mundo, if I can find one Mundo, it will spike my board by an awful lot. So I'm going to continue rolling here, just looking for one copy, and there we go. All right, now we can take the Elise out. We don't need the Elise anymore, and now this. Now I've moved completely out of Black Rose, which I was playing for a while, and now we have the 6 Dominator. 6 Dominator, 2 Automata, I think is the correct pronunciation, 2 Visionary. All right, let's go back to Dominator again. What does this trait do when you have 6 in it? Well, remember what I said. You gain a shield. Dominators gain a shield at the start of the fight. It is currently a 700 shield at Dominator 6. And then when Dominators cast, they gain stacking ability power based on the mana. At Dominator 6, it's 70% of their ability power they gain on cast. So, like, let's take Silco. Silco's mana cost is... Where's Silco on here? Dominator, Silco. His mana cost is 80. So at Dominator 6, he's going to retain, what, 70%? Of his 80 mana. So what is that? That's about 55 AP. So like every time he casts, he gets another death cap worth of AP. That seems pretty good. Now you just need enough frontline to stall out these fights. Then finally, we have our other new mechanic in the set. This is the Anomaly. Choose one champion to evolve, and then they will gain an additional bonus. So you do get the chance to reroll these, although it costs 1 gold each time you reroll. And I'm looking down at these, and I see this one. When an ally dies, gain 100% of their current mana. I was like, that actually seems like it synergizes really well with Dominators. So when an ally dies, Silco's going to get all their mana. And remember, the more he casts, the more ability power he gains via Dominator. I was like, that sounds really strong. Of course, if I'd known I was going to do that, maybe I didn't need the Shojin, but I think that this actually has a lot of synergy. So I did have to roll quite a bit, if you saw there. It took me a while to find something that fit with my board. But I think I was able to get one that's pretty good. So again, this is the new set mechanic. This is not especially well balanced on the PBE. It's possible to get some really broken combinations, but it's so early. We don't have a really good sense for what's strong or what's weak. At this point. Does seem like this is going to be something that's a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to this, but it's just really early right now, so it's hard to get a good sense for what you want to be playing and whatnot. What I will say is Soko should be getting an awful lot of mana, and again, every time he casts, he's going to gain all of that ability power, so he is just going to be doing absolutely absurd amounts of damage, especially if I can 2-star him, because he's only 1-star right now, but hopefully, I can manage to 2-star this guy. While we have a minion around here, I'll go ahead and cover what his ability does. Again, traits are Dominator plus Chem Baron. I'm not playing into Chem Baron in this game. Chem Baron is a lost streaking trait. It's a little bit like playing into like Fortune or Underground in past sets. Okay, Soko's ability called Canned Monstrosity. Throw a canister at the target, deals magic damage to them, and releases monstrosities. Monstrosities attack 5 times and deal magic damage per attack. So the more he casts, he throws out a little canister and then little monsters pop out. Very, very cute. Well, maybe not that cute. I guess it depends on how you feel about it. But definitely something that's pretty noticeable. So wait, there's the canister. There comes the little critters. And yeah, so obviously I want to get him up. And by the way, a Mordekaiser just popped out of that. I have 2-star Mordekaiser. He's the 5-cost Dominator. I was like, okay, I just have 2-star Mordekaiser. Okay, we are going to take that Thief's Glove off the Dr. Mundo, and we're going to put that on Mordekaiser because he is a 2-star 5-cost. I had insane luck at hitting this guy, so I'm definitely going to take that. I also have the items left over to make a Gnasher's Tooth. Do I actually go ahead and do that? I hope I remember to do that and put it on Malzahar. Oh, that's right. I had the chance to pull an anvil. Ah, that's right. For some reason, I completely missed this. I should have just put another item on the Mundo, but I think for whatever reason, I didn't see that I should just make the Gnasher's Tooth here because that would be better on Malzahar. I think I made a Rage Blade instead. For whatever reason, I just think I forgot that I could combine these two together. Gnasher's Tooth would have been a little bit better for Malz. Rage Blade doesn't really help me all that much, but oh well. Anyway, so yeah, I have a 2-star Mordekaiser. His ability puts down that big claw on the board that you might have seen. Here's the formal description. Let's see. Grasp of the Iron Revenant. Briefly gain 40% durability and summon a massive claw. Deals magic damage to the most enemies in a line. The 4 closest enemies take 25% more damage and are pulled towards Mordekaiser. For the next 10 seconds, gain Omnivamp plus 1 attack range. Replace every attack with a slam that deals magic damage. Yeah, so he puts the big claw down, basically, which hits a big group of enemies in a line. If there's one thing that I am missing, though, it's Soko. I have not seen a single Soko in my game thus far. I just got another Soko coming over from Grillo, but I have not actually seen even one Soko myself yet. Anyway, I am still going to go to level 9 and look to play some more units. So we're just going to look to try to cap out the board from here. I have 2-starred every single one of these units except for the Soko. And that's a little bit of a problem because Soko is the unit that I gave the anomaly to. He's kind of the unit that I evolved down there in the corner. So I definitely need him to be 2-starred. And then if I could hit Maul's 2-star, that would be nice as well. I have put a Remy. Oh, it's Rennie, I think. I'm still not 100% sure what this character's name is. I have put a Rennie on the board because that gives me Bruiser trait, which is a tank trait that gives health to your whole team and a little bit more to Bruisers themselves. But I can definitely do better than that. I'm looking to see if I can find something else. I'll see what else I can find, but I think I can play another unit. Anyway, I was about to beat the other board, then I got reinforced on. Then I would have lost to the reinforcing board, but Grillo was able to come over and turn it into a 2v2. And we look like we're in pretty solid shape, you know, after all those losses earlier. By the way, why didn't I just play Elise here? Elise is a better bruiser than Rennie. I don't know. For whatever reason, I didn't see that I could have bought that Elise in the shop. And there we go. There we go. Now I can finally 2-star the Soko. And I finally got 2-star Ziggs as well. So my board is almost complete at this point. In terms of what else I can play, I was like, I don't think it's the Rennie. I think I have enough frontline. I could play the Twitch. That will put Experiment trait in play. So I was like, all right, why not? And by the way, get another Thief's Club because this is the double up gift round. That Thief's Glove should definitely go on Mundo. I think I end up putting it on Twitch, but that's a mistake. I don't need more damage. I have plenty of damage right now. What I need is a little bit more frontline. So this Thieves Glove should have gone probably on Mundo, or barring that on the Nunu over there. But Mundo's the more important unit because Mundo actually has Dominator trait. The main reason why I wanted to put Experiment trait in is just because it gives an additional ability to the Experiment units that stand on the little green tiles. That's what it does. It puts little tiles on the board, a little bit like if we go all the way back to set 2, Rise of the Elements, a little bit like that, or a little bit like the spotlights that were on the board in set 6 when you played into, what was the spotlight trait? I can't remember the name of that one. Wow, it's been a little while. But anyway, it puts little tiles, and if experiment units stand in those tiles, they gain an additional ability. Twitch's trait, where's Twitch on here? Twitch's ability is, let's see, his bonuses after every 5 attacks deal physical damage to the nearest enemy equal to % of their max health. Mundo's the one I care about more. His experiment bonuses on takedown gain max health for the rest of combat. So anytime he's involved in a kill or an assist, he will gain additional... additional health for the rest of combat. So that's the main reason why I put experiment trait in here, is just to make Mundo more tanky. So again, I really should have some more tank items on Mundo. It was kind of silly not to put, as I said, kind of silly not to put the Thief's Glove on him. But in any case, I went ahead and took a Gnasher's Tooth there, which is again the item I probably should have made in the first place. So now I'm going to move the Gnasher's Tooth over to the Mauls, and we'll put the Rage Blade on the Ziggs there. Could also opt to play like LeBlanc here as a 5 cost, but I don't think that she would actually make any traits, and I probably have enough magic damage at this point. I think that upgrading frontline is probably the most important thing because the Blitz is a little outdated at this point in time. I mean, he's still a decent tank, but you know, he is a 3 cost unit, so he's a little bit outscaled at this stage of the game. Still, my board does do an awful lot of damage. Would have been nice if Silco could have stayed alive a little bit longer, but the rest of my board is kind of carrying it, and we're just stomping all over this one. Again, I've now won 8 rounds in a row, and my board, which was so weak early in the game, really has scaled up quite hard at this point. Like I said, 6 Dominators is very strong because it's placed so many 3, 4, and 5 costs. And I have an augment that makes all my Dominators extra strong on top of that. So we're looking pretty solid here. And as I said, now that I've kind of hit my board, I'm feeling pretty strong. I did get kind of lucky in hitting the, I did get kind of lucky in hitting the Mordekaiser so easily. But the rest of the board was a little bit slower incoming, I have to say. So I definitely should pick up this Twitch. Oh, the other thing we were doing is we were picking up additional copies of Mundo because I had a... why did I move him off the experiment tile? Whoops. That's me not paying attention. I just moved him off the experiment tile. There's literally no reason to play this. There's no reason to play experiment, trait if I'm not going to put him on the tile. But apparently I just moved him off the tile for some reason. We were trying to stack Mundos. Grillo had a 2-star Mundo on his bench, and I had 4 Mundos. So, you know, if he can send me that and then I can find 2 more, we actually would have 3-star Mundo. And I don't believe any of the other surviving players have him on their boards. So it is a real opportunity to potentially 3-star this unit. But we did think that the game would probably be over before that happened. Still, you always want to make sure you have like a backup plan if possible. It's like, there's another Mundo. So now if he can send me his Mundo, that would give me 8. So yeah, that's getting pretty close there. I also just got the champion send back. So I can go ahead and send something to Grillo, but I said I would roll down here on level 9 and see what I could find. And he had a couple units he wanted me to look for. I remember that I think he wanted me to find Rumble was one possibility. And I can't remember. I think there was maybe like another 5 costs, but I definitely remember that Rumble was one of the units I was looking for. Rumble is one of the other 5 costs in this set. Has some pretty interesting mechanics, but we don't really have time to cover him in this video because I would not end up playing him on my board. So I was like, all right, let's see. Can we find... What do we got here? Not seeing a whole lot. And there's like, oh, double Rumbles? Okay. I'll go ahead and take that. And I was like, can I find maybe 1 more? And then I do find 1 more. I was like, all right, here's a 2-star Rumble. That should make your board a little bit stronger. And then let's see what I can pull from these anvils. Now I'm really looking for more items. I was looking for another Mundo here. Looking for more items for Dr. Mundo. So I'm going to go ahead and put the Dragon's Claw on him. Apparently I did not remember to put him back on the experiment tile, so that's a mistake. I need another tank item. I don't think I need Sunfire, so I'm going to do Protector's Vow as well. This will make him significantly tankier. And as I said, that's the biggest thing I need because I do have enough damage back here. I think that what I just needed was a little bit more frontline. So he's going to help stand up there and tank. Soko is doing absurd amounts of damage because remember, every time he casts, that translates into more AP. And yeah, we're going to win and knock this player out. And Grillo's going to win his half of the matchup as well. And that's going to wrap this up for a pretty straightforward game. It was a rough early game because I was playing a trait that, as I said, leans pretty heavily into the late game. And once I've played the set more, I'll be able to understand, like, okay, here's the transition board. You can play this and then transition into something like Dominators when you actually start getting to the late game and hit the 4 and 5 cost. But it's really hard to do that when you've just started out playing. So instead, I just kind of tanked my way through the early game and had a little luck in hitting my units. And then I was able to put the board together. So set is brand new. We'll see what happens. I do think there's a lot of promise for this set. It's a very creative mechanic. Now the big thing is, can the developers balance it? I guess we'll find out. In any case, though, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, take care, folks.